From humble beginnings in a poor Mashhad neighborhood to the iron-fisted ruler of Iran for over 3 decades, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's story is one of survival, power, and ultimate downfall. This is the rise and fall of the man who shaped modern Iran, including the bomb blast that forever changed his life. Welcome back to GoldenTime Vault, where we unlock the forgotten stories of history's most influential figures. Today, we dive into the turbulent life of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the man who shaped modern Iran for nearly 4 decades. From his humble beginnings as a revolutionary cleric to his iron grip as supreme leader, and ultimately his dramatic fall in 2026, Khamenei's story is one of power, survival, and controversy. We'll explore his rise through the Islamic Revolution, the shocking incident that left his right arm paralyzed, his long reign marked by defiance against the West, and the events that led to his assassination. Stick around as we unravel the legacy of Iran's longest-serving head of state. He has never commanded an army on a battlefield. He has never won a democratic election. He has never appeared in a single live televised debate, and yet for nearly 4 decades, one man has held the fate of 85 million people in his hands. To his supporters, he was the deputy of God. To millions of his own people, he was a dictator. To the West, he was the architect of a new axis of resistance. Ali Khamenei was born in 1939 in the holy city of Mashhad, the second child in a poor, deeply religious family. His father was a low-ranking cleric. They were not wealthy. By some accounts, the family was so poor that they sometimes couldn't afford proper heating in the brutal Iranian winters. He would later romanticize his childhood, speaking of meals that consisted of nothing but bread and raisins. But young Ali was sharp, driven, and deeply religious. He enrolled in religious seminary, first in Mashhad, then in Qom, the beating heart of Shia scholarship in Iran. It was in Qom where everything changed. At age 4, Khamenei memorized the Quran, and at just 11 years old, he donned the turban of a cleric, beginning a path that would be shaped by the Quran and by politics. In the 1960s, as a student in the holy city of Qom, Khamenei fell under the spell of a firebrand professor, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a man who believed that Islam wasn't just a faith, it was a political system. A system that should replace kings, overthrow dictators, and govern nations. He blended religious scholarship with anti-Shah activism. While Khamenei's own father was an apolitical traditionalist, the son was radicalized. He joined the underground opposition to the Shah, the Western-backed monarch of Iran. Khamenei became a devoted student and follower. He translated Khomeini's writings. He spread the message, and he paid a price for it. Khamenei was arrested 6 times by the Shah's secret police. In 1963, at just 24, he was severely tortured. These years in the dark didn't break him. They radicalized him further and forged an iron will in him. He emerged not just as a cleric, but as a revolutionary. By the time the Iranian Revolution began in 1978, Khamenei wasn't just a follower. He was one of the movement's key organizers, a trusted lieutenant in Khomeini's inner circle. In 1979, the revolution finally toppled the Shah. He played a key role in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, serving on the Revolutionary Council and briefly overseeing the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, GAG. After the revolution, he helped found the Islamic Republican Party and rose meteorically, becoming a Friday prayer leader, deputy defense minister, and a trusted aide to the new supreme leader, Khomeini. But the revolution had enemies. On the 27th of June, 1981, at Abu Zar Mosque in Tehran, while leading Friday prayers shortly after returning from the Iran-Iraq war front, a tape recorder placed in front of him, gifted by an unknown individual, exploded after about a minute. The explosion was devastating. Several people were killed. Khamenei himself was critically wounded. The blast tore into his right side. Shrapnel and the force of the explosion caused severe, permanent damage to his right arm and hand, leaving it permanently paralyzed, damaged his vocal cords, affecting his speech. burned parts of his chest and wounded his lungs. He spent months in recovery, often hiding his disabled right hand beneath his robe thereafter, and reportedly became left-handed as a result. He later reflected that he didn't need the hand, so long as my brain and tongue work. He has lived with that disability ever since. In public appearances, you can always see it, a right arm that barely moves, a permanent physical reminder of the violence that forged the Islamic Republic. He survived. And rather than step back, this near-fatal attack came amid a wave of assassinations targeting revolutionary leaders, including the bombing of the Islamic Republican Party headquarters the next day and the killing of President Mohammad Ali Rajai shortly after. Surviving it bolstered Khamenei's stature. He was elected president in September 1981 with overwhelming support and served 2-term. 1981-1989, overseeing the Iran-Iraq war and forging deep ties with the IGC. The president wasn't the most powerful figure. That position belonged to the supreme leader, and that position belonged, for now, to Khamenei. By the late 1980s, Khamenei was dying, and the question consuming Iran's ruling elite was the same question that haunts every authoritarian regime: who comes next? The answer surprised almost everyone, including, by some accounts, Khamenei himself. Khamenei was not the most senior cleric in Iran. He wasn't a grand ayatollah, the highest rank in Shia scholarship. Some of Iran's most respected religious scholars openly questioned whether he had the theological credentials to lead. But in authoritarian systems, credentials matter less than loyalty. And political maneuvering. On the 3rd of June 1989, less than 24 hours after Khomeini's death, Iran's assembly of experts named Ali Khamenei as the new supreme leader. It was, by any measure, a stunning political coup. A man considered a mid-level cleric had just become the most powerful figure in a nation of tens of millions. To compensate for his lack of clerical rank, the assembly retroactively elevated his title to Ayatollah. The religious establishment was told, in effect, to accept it and move on. And they did, because in the Islamic Republic, the supreme leader answers to no one. He held the position for 37 years, centralizing power, empowering the EIGC as a military, economic, political force, supporting proxy groups across the region, the axis of resistance, and overseeing harsh crackdowns on dissent, including protests that killed thousands. To understand how Khamenei rules, you have to understand the architecture of power he inherited and expanded. The supreme leader of Iran controls the armed forces, the judiciary, state television and radio, the Revolutionary Guards, Iran's most elite and feared military force, the Guardian Council, which vets every candidate for every election. Presidents come and go, reformers rise and fall, but Khamenei remains over the decades. He has played Iran's presidents like chess pieces. When reformers like Khatami tried to open the country up, Khamenei's judiciary crushed independent newspapers and jailed dissidents. When hardliners like Ahmadinejad grew too powerful, too publicly popular, Khamenei quietly cut them down to size. He is the constant, the immovable force at the center of everything. Internationally, Khamenei pursued a strategy built on 2 pillars: resistance against the West, particularly the United States and Israel, and the development of Iran's nuclear program. He funded proxy groups across the Middle East: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen. He called it the axis of resistance. His critics called it state-sponsored terrorism. He couldn't rule through religious awe, so he ruled through networks. He meticulously placed loyalists in every corner of the state, the judiciary, the media, the parliament, and most importantly, the military. His key to power was the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the EAGC. He transformed them from a revolutionary militia into a massive military-industrial empire that controlled vast chunks of the economy. He gave them power, and in return, they became the shield of his rule, crushing any dissent. He built a state within a state, and it answered only to him. The first real test of his rule came in 1999. Students protested the closure of a reformist newspaper. The protests grew. For the first time, the crowds chanted slogans directly against the supreme leader. Khamenei's response set a precedent. He issued an ultimatum, and security forces stormed the dormitories. The message was clear: dissent would not be tolerated. The biggest challenge came in 2009. The disputed re-election of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad sparked the Green Movement, the largest protest since the revolution. Millions took to the streets, believing they had been cheated. They chanted, "Where is my vote?" Khamenei backed the election results and blamed foreign enemies. The crackdown was swift and brutal. The Basij militia fired on crowds. Protesters were arrested, tortured, and killed. The Green Movement was crushed, but the anger didn't die. It just went underground. The anger erupted again in 2022. A young Kurdish Iranian woman, Mashhad Amini, died while in the custody of the morality police for allegedly violating the strict hijab rules. The cry of woman, life, freedom, echoed across the globe. Young women at the forefront cut their hair and burned their headscarves in defiance. They weren't just protesting the morality police, they were protesting the entire system Khamenei had built. They chanted, "Death to the dictator." The regime's response was, by now, predictable. Khamenei authorized a final solution to the unrest. Security forces killed hundreds. Unrest security forces killed hundreds. In a macabre display of power, the bodies of executed protesters were hung from construction cranes as a warning to the public. The world watched in horror, but Khamenei's grip held. The axis of resistance, while suppressing Iranians at home, Khamenei was exporting the revolution abroad. He built what he called the axis of resistance, a network of proxies and allies stretching across the Middle East. Billions of dollars and thousands of weapons flowed to Hezbollah in Lebanon, to Hamas in Gaza, to the Houthis in Yemen, and to Shia militias in Iraq. The architect of this strategy was his trusted commander, Qasem Soleimani, head of the Quds force. Their goal was to surround Israel and drive the United States out of the region. But this shadow war came at a cost. In 2020, US President Donald Trump ordered a drone strike that killed Soleimani in Baghdad. A heartbroken Khamenei wept over the body of his friend, vowing revenge. But the revenge was carefully calibrated. Khamenei was an ideologue, but he was also a survivalist. He avoided direct war, preferring to fight to the last proxy. His foreign policy was defined by one constant: enmity with the great Satan, the United States. In 2015, he cautiously allowed a historic nuclear deal, trading uranium enrichment for sanctions relief. But Trump withdrew from that deal in 2018. Khamenei's deep-seated distrust was validated. He doubled down on his nuclear program, inching closer to a bomb, while the economy, strangled by sanctions, began to collapse. The sanctions turned Iran into a prison. Once a major oil power, the country was isolated, and as the economy crumbled, the space for protest shriveled. The final days, the shadow war with Israel finally erupted into the open. After decades of tit-for-tat, April 2024 saw Iran launch its first ever direct attack on Israel. The conflict spiraled. By June 2025, Israel launched a massive 12-day assault on Iranian nuclear and military facilities. For the first time, Khamenei was forced into hiding. His network of proxies, built over 40 years, was unraveling. Hamas was devastated in Gaza. Hezbollah's leadership was decimated. His key ally, Syria's Bashar al-Assad, was suddenly toppled. The axis of resistance was in tatters. At home, the winter of 2026 brought the final storm. The economy had completely collapsed. Protests erupted again, but this time they were different. They were everywhere, and they were desperate. Human rights groups reported that in the last crackdown alone, over 6,400 protesters were killed by security forces. President Trump, back in office, demanded Khamenei surrender his nuclear program. The US military built up its forces in the region. Khamenei's final public messages were defiant. On January 2026, he warned, but he refused to bend. If they start a war, this time it will be a regional war. But he refused to bend. He refused to give up the program that he saw as his only leverage. He was cornered. On the 28th of February 2026, the end came. As US and Israeli jets pounded Tehran, the first target was the compound of the supreme leader. The 86-year-old ghost of the revolution was killed in the opening salvo of the attack he had spent a lifetime trying to avoid. What was the legacy of Ali Khamenei? He began as a weak compromise, dismissed by his peers. He ended as one of the 5 most powerful Iranians in 100 years. He took a revolutionary state and hardened it into a security state. He dedicated his life to fighting the great Satan and erasing Israel. But he leaves his country devastated by war, its economy in ruins, and its youth more alienated from the ideals of the revolution than ever before. Just weeks before his death, a 25-year-old unemployed graduate named Mina told Reuters what so many Iranians felt. "I just want to live a peaceful, normal life." Instead, they insist on a nuclear program supporting armed groups. Those policies may have made sense in 1979, but not today. The world has changed, but Khamenei refused to change with it. In his final days, he chose defiance over survival. He built an empire of stone and fire, but in the end, the fire consumed him. The fall of Ali Khamenei does not just close a chapter in Iran's history, it slams the book shut. What comes next for the Islamic Republic is written in the smoke rising from Tehran, and it is a story no one can yet read. Thanks for watching Golden Time Vault. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please like and subscribe for more stories from the crossroads of history. And let us know in the comments what historical figure should we cover next.
So Pario, well then like and subscribe to Golden Time Vault.